By 323 BC, Alexander had forged an empire that spread from Greece in the west down through Egypt and to India in the east. His conquests hinged on his army's use of advanced technology, but they also depended on Alexander's legendary ability to command the loyalty of thousands of men. But after 13 years and thousands of miles of constant warfare, that loyalty was stretched to the breaking point.
His troops, their loyalty finally was used up. They rebelled against him. They refused to go further, and he had to turn around.
While returning from India, Alexander was preparing to consolidate his empire when he was struck by a mysterious illness.
No one knows exactly what it was that killed him, whether it was an infection, whether it was the result of a very hard life as a soldier in which he was wounded in battle, these extraordinary travels in which he, according to legends, subjected himself to the same hardships as his soldiers. One of the stories is that he essentially drank himself to death. There was always intrigue at the Macedonian court. Alexander's father had been assassinated. Is it possible that he was poisoned in some way? Those are questions we can't answer.
On June 10, 323 BC, just 1 month shy of 33 years old, the most powerful man on earth was dead. Now the stunning rise of his sudden empire would be matched by its spectacular and bloody fragmentation. A power struggle between the regional commanders quickly ensued to fill the void left by Alexander's death. These generals and their heirs carved out vibrant Hellenistic kingdoms and for generations fought a continual battle for dominance. The land of Egypt would fall to Alexander's general Ptolemy, who had been left to oversee the wealthy territory on the Nile. Ptolemy would shape a kingdom that combined Greek and Egyptian culture into a dynasty that would last for almost 300 years.
Ptolemy I was a man who had made a career as a military commander and advisor under Alexander. What he therefore wanted was as rich and secure a portion of that empire as he could get.
Egypt was the crown jewel of the Mediterranean. Its surplus of grain meant that a windfall awaited Ptolemy as ruler of the breadbasket of the ancient world. Ptolemy's plan was to ensure his legitimacy both as Egypt's king and also true heir to Alexander. Macedonian tradition held that the one who buried the body of the king secured his rights to the throne. So Ptolemy hijacked the funeral procession of Alexander and brought the mummified body to Egypt, where it would eventually rest in Alexandria, the same city Alexander himself had founded 15 years earlier. Under Ptolemy, Egypt would grow to be a powerful kingdom, and Alexandria would transform itself into the intellectual and scientific capital of the Greek world.
He wanted it to be a city that joined with Greek culture and used both Greek and Egyptian technological know-how to build a new Athens, if you will.
Alexandria lies on Egypt's coastline, and an easily accessible harbor would be vital for sustaining trade with other cities around the Mediterranean. To that end, Ptolemy ordered one of the most ambitious engineering projects ever seen, the world's first known lighthouse.
During the night, it's shown to a great distance, and ships can actually see it from many, many miles away. And during the day, there was smoke coming out of it, so it was still very visible. It must have been a formidable thing to behold.
At the time, only the Great Pyramid at Giza was taller than the lighthouse. Legend says it stood 300 feet tall, comparable in size to the Statue of Liberty. Some estimates claim the lighthouse may have stood as tall as 450 feet. How the lighthouse was built remains a mystery, but 25 miles from Alexandria, a funeral monument stands that researchers believe is a scaled-down replica of the actual lighthouse. Based on that model, it appears the lighthouse was constructed with 3 separate and distinct levels.
The lower level was square, The one above was octagonal, and the final one was cylindrical. And on top, there was the beacon.
From the top of the lighthouse, a strong and steady beam of light emanated out into the sea. Scholars believe wood was most likely the lighthouse's fuel, and that the lower section housed a spiral ramp large enough for pack animals to climb, pulling carts laden with firewood. The ramps may have led to a series of storage rooms where the firewood was kept. From the second level upwards, a shaft with a dumbwaiter was probably used to lift fuel up to the top.
There are stories about mirrors and devices that could amplify the light of this fire so that it could be seen from miles and miles away. But there is no real evidence of such a thing. And there are quite a few scholars who believe that it was just a normal beacon, it was just a big fire and nothing more.
The lighthouse stood for almost 1,600 years, battered by storms, tidal waves, and even earthquakes. Then around 1300 AD, massive quakes brought that ancient wonder of the world crashing down for good. For nearly 700 years, the lighthouse lay buried underneath the waters of the Mediterranean. Then, in 1994, a team of divers and archaeologists uncovered massive stones in Alexandria's harbor, revealing what may be the foundations of a guiding light in engineering history.
Jean-Yves Empereur, a well-known French archaeologist, started a very, very important series of underwater research. He is finding architectural members of the pharos, so there might come a day when it may even be restored.
Beneath the waves, archaeologists documented pieces of stone that weighed more than 70 tons, including one piece that was believed to be the lintel of the lighthouse's massive doorway. But the lighthouse would not be Ptolemy's only engineering marvel in Alexandria. As the lighthouse rose above the skyline, he launched another building project, one that brought the greatest minds in the world to his cosmopolitan city. It was called the Great Library of Alexandria, a place that claimed to have over 200,000 scrolls dedicated to knowledge and learning. It was here that one engineer would harness the power of steam 1,700 years before the world ever imagined a locomotive.
It was in Alexandria during the reign of Ptolemy II that the Hebrew Bible was first translated into Greek.